in a fifth-generational conflict.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Deliver us from evil.
The arraignment for former FBI Director James Comey will now be held Wednesday morning in Alexandria, Virginia. The hearing was originally scheduled for Thursday, but a federal judge moved the hearing up a day due to other pending court cases. Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury on September 25th on 2 felony counts. He faces a count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding and a count of making a false statement to Congress.
The U.S. Attorney General was grilled on Capitol Hill over controversies related to the Justice Department.
It included the department's handling of the Epstein files and investigations allegedly targeting President Trump's political opponents.
The government shutdown is now in its 7th day, and the impacts are spreading nationwide.
Major airports across the country facing staffing shortages affecting operations from Chicago's O'Hare Airport to Nashville, Newark, Las Vegas, and Houston. And that number continues to grow. Many air traffic controllers are calling out sick, creating staffing shortages that are impacting travelers. The ripple effect hitting flights across the country.
New numbers showing the dramatic change at the border.
We've got the most controlled border we've ever had in the history, and in my lifetime in the Border Patrol.
In Eagle Pass, Texas, during the Biden administration, more than 2,000 migrants crossed into the U.S. in a single day. But now, under President Trump's policies, officers encounter just 20 migrants a day here. DHS touting the lowest number of illegal border crossings since 1970.
We were here 2 years ago where migrants used to carry children on their backs to get across this river and cut through this barbed wire to get to the United States. They would see hundreds, even thousands a day in this very spot. But today, it's silent.
Let's get right to that Antifa Roundtable. What's likely going to come out of this?
I think this is one of the things that's been on the table, no pun intended, for President Trump for a while, ever since we've seen the violence increase due to these ICE raids and ICE occupation in some of these cities. So we're going to start to find out how they are organized and who potentially is behind funding all of this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We are here live, as you can see, from the White House itself. Jack Posobiec here, Real America's Voice. President Trump today has convened and will convene an Antifa Roundtable. He is gathering minds, journalists, reporters, and victims from all around the country to come here to the White House in just 1 hour's time to tell the true story about what Antifa is, who they are, what the networks are that are funding them, and to talk about solutions that can be used to take down these networks, these domestic terrorism networks, once and for all throughout our nation. Andy Ngo will be here. Katie Daviscourt from the Post Millennial, my colleague, will be here. Savannah Hernandez will be here, and so many more. I'm seeing some of those names that you're all very familiar with. They've just started entering the White House. I myself will be a part of the roundtable. Very honored to be asked by the White House to participate. And so I will probably not be able to make the very last segment of the show here today because we're going to have to head in for that roundtable, which will be convened by the president very shortly. Here's the situation. We've now seen in a variety of cities in the United States, particularly right now, Chicago and Portland, they are in open rebellion against the federal government's purview, the federal government's jurisdiction when it comes to immigration law. The enforcement of immigration and customs law is the sole purview and remit of the federal government. It is literally the acronym ICE. That's what it stands for, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And what does that mean? They are the agency that has the lead nationwide with constitutional authority delegated to the President of the United States in the executive branch to control who is allowed to be in this country and who is not allowed to be in this country. This is not a function of state government at all. And what has happened in these areas, Chicago, Portland, and to be sure, other areas as well, you've seen networks activated, shock troops, thugs, militant wings of these networks that are clearly defined, well-developed. Rose City Antifa, in Portland. Various armed groups all around the country, Socialist Rifle Alliance, John Brown Gun Club, some of the groups that I went up against when I infiltrated the CHAZ in Seattle all the way back in 2020, when I stood off against Antifa right here in Washington, D.C. at Lincoln Park, defending the statue of Abraham Lincoln from destruction by Antifa forces. And so when the critics and the mainstream tell you that Antifa is not real, we've got the receipts, we've got the networks, we've got the funding, and we're here today to explain not only to the president, but we'll also be joined, of course, I'm told, by the Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, Secretary of Homeland Security, will all be present to talk about these issues that we are facing, which they know well, and also to give testimony that we have experienced in some cases, like Katie Davis Court, of course, unfortunately been victimized by. And you're going to hear those stories and so much more in just a few minutes. What we're going to do here on Human Events Daily, as people are coming in, we'll grab them, we'll talk about what's going on. Obviously, the weather is, the D.C. weather is what it is this October. It's fall, but that doesn't matter. It's certainly not going to stop us, because we are finally, once and for all, putting an end to these domestic terror networks. We'll be back in a second. Jack Posobiec, Human Events Daily.